What is the most disturbing fact about the human body? Once your immune system finds out you have eyes, you're blind. Your brain blocks out the feeling of your organs moving around in your body. Vitamin C deficiency, aka scurvy, will eventually cause your collagen levels to deplete, that all your old scar tissue will start to break down and old wounds will start to reopen. You can be reset by even minor brain trauma. Personality, attractions, dislikes, just because a lump of fat jiggled wrong, or more probably was denied a bit of oxygen. Now, you exist as memories of this person everyone knew. And you're too tired to keep explaining that you aren't him, so you just do the rap he did while everyone is watching you. Not a fact exactly, but I always find it weird that part of your brain is telling your body what to do. Breathe, digest, whatever, and the other part of your brain has absolutely no idea what that part is doing. As someone who suffers from occasional insomnia and sleepless nights, the fact that something called fatal familial insomnia exists terrifies me. Basically, one day you simply cannot fall asleep anymore and become more and more insane until you die. No matter how hard you strain, it's estimated you only use about 60% of your full strength. This is not due to weakness of muscle but your brain. That disturbing part? If your brain didn't stop you, you could tear your own ligaments, muscles, tendons, and break your own bones trying to throw a ball, a shard as you can. Anecdotal urban legends of mothers lifting cars off babies are thought to have been the fight or flight of adrenaline temporarily overriding this limit. If your bowel is obstructed severely and for long enough, you will vomit hit out of your mouth. Arteries feel like al dente noodles. You have about a kilogram of fungus, bacteria and mites that you carry around with you on a day-to-day basis, so if you ever feel alone, remember that. Aneurysms. Highly unpredictable and seemingly random insta-death. Human babies are helpless at birth compared to other animals because our brains grow so big we evolved to give birth early in our development, or else we'd kill the mother coming out of the birth canal. Spent too long in this thread, now I'm scared to move. Your body functions due to 1,000s of different chemical reactions, and if any one of them stop functioning normally, you will die or become really ill. Your ick is twice as long, just half of it is in your body. You can have 2/3 of your liver removed, and it'll regenerate itself. We rely on millions of friendly symbiotic bacteria and microorganisms to help us digest food. Essentially, there's a whole community in our intestines. If you have abdominal surgery and they have to take out your intestines, they put them into a bowl next to you while they work, and your intestines wiggle around in the bowl like snakes the whole time. Then when it's time to put your guts back in, they just kind of stuff them in there and let them snake wiggle themselves back into place. Edit, because I thought of another one. You can look at any object and your tongue already knows what it would feel like to lick it. Cancer pops up and is killed thousands of times every day. What is your opinion about Imgur removing adult content? Once we run out of porn on the internet, Sears will be well positioned to make a comeback through print media. Didn't it work out ever so well for Tumblr? Anytime a website does this, I just assume it's to get more ad revenue, which is the death knell of all good websites. It's not about the adult content for me, but its removal exposes an underlying shift in how the business is being run. I mean, you realize Reddit is headed this way too. When they go public, the first thing their shareholders will do is say, if we ban porn, we can get more advertising money for 1 or 2 quarters before the website tanks, then sell the stock. It's a stupid and pointless move. People will just move to other sites, their community will shrink purely out of principle, and traffic will decline heavily, hurting their bottom line. With all Fathy will need to sheepishly backtrack or just quietly tune the eye to not care unless it's an easy-to-spot tag. Who is undoubtedly the most dangerous person you know? My mom has totaled around 5 cars. She's a terrible driver, should NT even be on the road. If she's driving, I'll take my car and meet you there. My dad eats mushrooms from his backyard, and hoses out his toaster and hangs it by the cord on the washing line to dry. My parents moved into a neighborhood with a truck driver as a neighbor. When they finally met him, he drove all the time, they found out his wife had killed herself and his son had been in jail, prison and off since he was a minor. Trucker dude was super rough around the edges. Boothod acquired quite a bit of wealth over his career of hard work. My parents started having him over for dinners and became pretty good friends. He didn't like to talk about his son and got real grumpy when his name came up. Dad wasn't the direct problem. His son got released from prison and came back home on a last chance deal with his dad. He was in rehab. He was helpful and helping my parents with projects and chores. They started trusting the guy. He seemed like things were going well in his life for once. I even met the UCKU pand, agreed he was a nice kid with a bad life. He was older than me and I still say kid lol. Well, Dad called my parent and told them he had been missing for 2 nights and that's not a good sign. Turns out he went on a bender, beat the living hit out of his girlfriend in a Home Depot parking lot, and evaded a cop on his way out. He started calling my parents with burner phones asking if he could come over. The answer was a hard no. He then escalated to he was gonna roll up with HI screw and take their hit while they slept. That escalated things even more. He got caught the next day at a trap house and arrested with an illegal handgun. Ucker was locked in for 7 years and released on good behavior. Nobody knows where he is at. His dad died a few years back. They think they saw him multiple times sitting outside of Heisold house late at night. That's the scariest person I know. Edit to add. My parents did nothing but feed him and offer advice when he needed it. Just a nice old couple. Unpredictable people that flip on a switch scare me. Former high school CLSS mate who became a cop and started a pedophilia ring, eventually crossing multiple state lines and trading services for video game systems, all while abusing neighborhood children. May he rot in the federal penitentiary that currently houses his nasty ass. My neighbor Frank is from Sicily. He smokes in the supermarket, drives like a nutcase, can swear in 3 languages. He's 80 years old and he was drinking limoncello on his roof this morning. One of my favorite people. A nurse I have worked with once. She completely stepped over boundaries, disconnected a PIC line without informing me. The PIC-trained nurse didn't wear gloves or wash her hands. Couldn't take criticism or couldn't be taught about the error of her clinical judgment. Instead shouted at myself, the patient and other staff. Didn't come back so. She's probably moved on to another area. The patient? That was her last go at palliative chemo to give her some more months of quality time with her children. The PIC blocked. They didn't give her another one. That nurse contributed to that woman having less time with her family. I will never forgive her. Me. I single-handedly have the power to completely upend my life at a moment's notice and run it into the ground. There isn't a single other person in the world that can do that. My father. A wife-beating criminal, cocaine addict, full of steroids and anger issues. He showed up at my little sister's house last January and threatened her for money. But the dangerous part is that he's scary smart. Gotta give credit where credit is due, that guy is not stupid and that's what makes him all the more dangerous. There's very few people I'm genuinely afraid of, but he's one of them. Gary from work. Guy is a nutcase. What's a kink that you started joking about that turned into one of your actual kinks? Praise kink. I found it ridiculous that someone would get off on being called a good boy. Well, I'm a tall, athletic guy, 6 feet 4 inches. When I was single, I used to joke that I was single because I only want to date women taller and stronger than me. A man can dream, right? My current partner might not be taller than me, but she can carry me around like it's nothing. Cold sweat smile. Not mine but my wife. She used to joke about being thrown about, manhandled, pinned down, etc. After doing it a few times to her, she started to request that I keep doing it, and it's now her go-to request to get turned on quickly. Middle-aged woman in a business suit who puts her hands on her hips and tells me she is disappointed with me. MILFs and drunk office ladies. It started as a joke, but I'm scared now. Sleep. Yeah, I found out I really like being woken up, being touched and everything. It makes merrily orny. Oh god. Okay, well, I was watching this film with some friends and the premise was based on a masked killer. We got to talking about masked killers in general, which is when I admitted that 2 of my weirdest crushes ever were Jason Voorhees and Ghostface. But only when they had masks on. I made a joke about maybe I have a kink for masks. Well, got drunk with my partner at the time, a couple days later, and we gave it a go. Turns out it wasn't a joke and I'm into that. The pandemic's been a wild ride for me. What screams? I'm a terrible ucking parent. Using the children for content. If you're always pointing out the negative of your kid's personality or ability, they are going to live up to that. Accentuate the positive. Turning a child against their other parent. Parental alienation because you hate the other parent. So, AMN selfish. Belittling your child's hobbies and interests just because they are different from what you like. Your child is their own person, not just a miniature copy of you. I met a 300-pound 12-year-old girl. All her mom fed her was Burger King. Cussing at or insulting your children, especially in public. I was in the electronics section of Walmart the other day and a kid was nearby looking at video games. The mother, presumably, comes over and starts dropping F-bombs at him, saying she didn't save money for any stupid feeing games and to get his dumbass over here, etc. Broke my heart. I grew up poor. I knew we couldn't afford many toys or video games, but I would always shong out in the toy aisle or video game area while my mom would shop for groceries. Then she would come get me when she was done. No yelling, as Shek knew where I was the whole time. I knew we couldn't afford those things, so I never asked. I just wanted to admire everything. This poor kid could have been doing the same. Just window shopping, knowing he couldn't have anything. I used to think that when I'd go for a late night run for diapers or formula and I'd see parents, with their young children, were absolute trash. Then, I realized these were parents who worked 2 or 3 jobs and the only time they had to get groceries was after 10 p.m. I feel bad for thinking that of them. Refusing to admit to their child that they were wrong or made a mistake. It's really common to feel like you can never admit to being wrong because it would undermine your authority, but all you're doing is modeling emotional immaturity, breeding resentment, and setting your child up for terrible relationship dynamics in the future. Letting your kids annoy people without repercussions. X. Kicking the back of an airline seat.